Osawatomie, the city of history and promise. It's been way too long. I'm so excited to get back. Today, we're going to talk with somebody who hopefully has a little bit of promise for us. It is the men's basketball, I guess we should say, boys basketball head coach, Chris Pitts. I am really excited to chat with him. Once this Zoom gets going here. Coach,
Hey, how's it going?
it's good. Can you hear me?
I got you. Yep, I do.
Awesome. Excellent. We've worked together. I say we work together. Uh, I've been here for 6, 7 years now, and I think the longest conversation we've had is you're gonna do the national anthem before we do starting lineups.
Yeah, I'm usually pretty quiet unless I'm coaching, then I'm pretty loud, I guess. But
Yeah. One thing I've over so I'm the PA announcer at the games, right? And I just thoroughly respect the way you handle yourself on the sidelines. There's you see all sorts of coaches coming in and some guys lose their temper and some people are super quiet and reserved, and I think you show a nice balance of passion and respect for the game.
oh, it's not always easy, but I try. That's for sure. So
So, trying to get to know you a little bit better. So this whole podcast series that I'm doing is just about learning more about Osawatomie, the town, about the people, the character of the town, and trying to speak to people that I normally don't get a chance to talk to. And you play a role in this town as the basketball coach. So to get to know you better, I did a little bit of research. I found out you're from Osage
okay.
City, Kansas. Is that right?
That's right. I grew up in Osage City.
Where
It's
is
about 30 minutes from Topeka, right
North?
between Topeka and Emporia. So
Oh, okay. All right.
Topeka, 30 minutes to Emporia. Yep.
I gotcha. So you, I mean, it's similar to what this is then. You're not too far away
It's
from
a
civilization.
3A school, just like Osawatomie. So
Yeah, yeah. And I have an unreasonable hatred for Wellsville. I am I'm the math coach, the math team coach or sponsor. I don't know what you call it. And Wellsville always shows up at these competitions, and they just show up every time. They're always getting hardware. They're taking home all these trophies and stuff. And man, I just every competition on the bus right before we get off, I try and it's math competition. You're not like actually exerting physical energy, but I do a little speech and I'm like, we gotta go beat Wellsville, guys. Let's go beat Wellsville. And we haven't quite like dominated Wellsville the way I want to yet, but why do you have a hatred for Wellsville?
Oh, I tell my kids that, I want to beat Wellsville and rock, paper, scissors. So no, that was I mean, we played them when I was in high school. It's been, I've been playing them forever and now they're in our league and they're usually league champions majority of the time in basketball, football.
Ugh.
Seems like every sport. But yeah, that was unfortunately my last high school game as a player. We lost in state basketball to them my senior year after
No.
my junior year, we were state champions, and then my senior year, we were ranked first in 3A, and unfortunately, that's how it ended for us against
Uh,
Wellsville. So,
in the
yeah, that's
finals
kind of
was
part of
it?
my deal there.
So were you in the finals when you lost to Wellsville your senior year?
My junior year, we were state champions. My senior year, we lost first round. We were the 1 seed, and
Oh,
they were the 8th seed, so that made it a little bit worse. But
oh, that is really frustrating. So, what position did you play when you played in high school?
high school, I was the four. I was pretty lucky. We had a 6'6" post player that was the grade above me, who was a really good player. So we had
Yeah.
a really good point guard. I was blessed. My coach was actually my high school coach was from Paola, Dennis Fort. So
Okay.
really blessed. He was a great coach. My junior and senior year, we went 45-5. So in 2 years we won 45 games and we're state champs my junior year, and only lost 2 games my senior year as well. Unfortunately, one of those two was to Wellsville. So
Like, let's.
yeah,
I know we see them twice this year. Right out of the chute on December 12th, we're going to be playing at Wellsville. Like,
yeah, we always get to our first league game of the year. We always get to start with them all Mr. Hall for that schedule. Not really, but I'll
dude,
blame him.
now, do
So
they have any clue that you hate them? Like, I mean, not like them as people, but like, hey, you have this like, desire to beat them. Like, do they have any idea?
I think everybody in our league has that desire just because Wellsville's won so much. So
Sure,
their head coach now, he was Spring Hill's coach for 25 years, and when I was in college, I coached Spring Hill's summer league team, and he was the head coach there. And now he's been the Wellsville head coach for I don't know, probably eight to 10 years now, but he's been doing it a long time and won a lot of games. So
sure.
he's a pretty good coach, obviously.
Right, right, right. Oh man. What else did it say here in my research that I did with you? You went to college at Ottawa University. Did you played at Ottawa?
Yep.
Is that right? When did you graduate from Ottawa?
I graduated Ottawa in 2006. So
All right, so you're right. So right around the same age. That I for some reason I think it's the Santa beard, but just for some reason I just feel like everybody's 10 years younger than me. You
oh,
carry yourself well.
I'm 40. I'm 40, and my beard's starting to get a little more gray at every year. So
Hey, now that you're 40, you have every right to do the Mike Gundy press conference. You know, don't,
that's
I'm 40. I'm a man.
that's a classic for sure. Absolutely.
Are you glad there's no sort of media requirements for high school coaching?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's probably my thing. So I'm probably happy. I mean,
Yeah.
probably not my thing. I'm usually kind of more keep to myself, but
Yeah. So do you find that to be challenging to like communicate your ideas with your team? Or do you find it I mean, just because you're sort of a reserved guy, so like building relationships with the players and building that camaraderie with the team, do you find that to be a little bit more challenging?
oh no, I mean, I think I'm kind of a different person when I'm with the kids compared to more in public. I'm kind of more reserved, but even on the sideline, sometimes I feel myself tell myself, all right, you relax a little bit. There's kids. My sons are at the game. I teach at the elementary school, so I'm like, hey, I got 500 students. I'm sure some of them are seeing me. I got to remind myself that I'm representing myself and the team sometimes. So you just got to relax a little bit.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Um, so you're just like what would you do? So you have a few days off this weekend. Well, like what is something that you're gonna do to kind of just enjoy yourself? Any like hobbies or anything that you got going on?
So my wife's family is big into hunting. My youngest son is really into it right now. So later today, I'll have him out in the deer stand, and he'll be trying to get a deer. So I just got back a few weeks ago from a elk hunt in Colorado with Heather's dad and her uncle. So we camped out there for a week, and it's beautiful out there. And we saw about every kind of weather you could imagine. We had 3 inches of snow, we had sunny and 60, so we had negative temperatures, but got to see a little bit of all. But yeah, I'm a mountain guy, so I could live in the mountains and be pretty happy out there.
That's amazing. Have you gotten yourself an elk yet?
I have. It's pretty challenging out there. I mean, there's not a ton of them, but
Right.
I've been pretty lucky, and my father-in-law and uncle have gotten several. So good
What's
news is you get one. The bad news is it's a lot of work once you do get one to take care of it. So,
and I'm sure as a responsible hunter, you take care of everything that you need to take care of when you do it. But what's have you gotten a bear or have you gone bear hunting?
I never have. we pretty much deer hunt, elk hunt, turkey hunt, and then do a lot of fishing.
I had my uncle and cousins. They'd go pheasant hunting. It had like bird hunting. Now, besides turkey, I mean, turkeys don't really fly, but have
Used
you?
to I used to go bird hunting, but the problem with pheasant hunting is it's right at the start of basketball season,
Ah,
so
okay.
a damper on that. So
Right. That makes sense. That's awesome. All right, so yesterday, I missed this because I have COVID, but I can't smell or taste anything. It's the weirdest thing. But yesterday, I saw where there was a basketball jamboree. What was that all about? How did that go?
this was the first time basketball's got to do this. Football's been doing it for a few years, but it was nice. We played Bishop Seabury and Paola last night, just the varsity kids, and it was a little different because we played just 3 4 minute quarters basically against each team, and it went pretty fast. And trying to get guys in and get a look at them, there just wasn't really enough minutes to do it. But it was nice to play somebody else other than just practicing against each other. So
Right. So it was like a community scrimmage basically.
yeah, there was quite a few parents there from Osawatomie, and then Paola had some parents as well. So for a
Yeah.
scrimmage, I thought it was a pretty good crowd. But
Now I know KU has that like midnight madness thing or whatever they have there at Allen. Have you thought about doing like the midnight practice on the day that you're allowed to start?
I mean, I think that'd be fun. I've been to KU's, and I mean,
Yeah.
obviously that's a whole another level out in
Right.
Fieldhouse. But
Yeah, we're not getting Snoop Dogg to come to Osawatomie.
I mean, I think it'd be fun. But I mean, I thought this jamboree was really nice. This is the first time we've ever been able to have a scrimmage like that. So we got to see quite a bit. We got to work on man offense, zone offense. We played some man defense, zone defense, some inbounds plays, some press breakers. So a lot of good stuff to work on before actually playing the first game.
Yeah. Oh, I love that we did that, and had uh everything worked out properly, I definitely would have been there. I would have loved to have been a part of the whole thing and just right be in the thick of it. I love watching the basketball from my seat specifically, right? So I am right at the center court with the at the scorebook and
Yeah,
I
you get to hear it all and see it all. So
yeah, oh absolutely. Well, so you don't watch the girls varsity the way I mean I am just like front row. Here we go, girls varsity, and the way it works in our league is that it goes girls game, the girls varsity, and then 15-minute break, and then it goes into boys varsity. And you're there for an hour watching these girls games, and you get into it. You kind of get the rhythm of the girls game, and you're right in the middle of it. And the girls game ends, you go to the bathroom, you come back, and you're used to the girls game pace, and you're used to the way and it's like a shot out of a cannon when that tips off for the boys game. It is 1,000 miles an hour. Now I know you don't know any different, but
yeah.
it are you ever like, man, these kids are going fast? Like, do you ever find yourself just exhausted watching them? Or
Oh, I mean, I was Darren Susie was the head coach before me from 2000 to 2015, and I was the freshman coach for, oh man, I don't even know, 6 or 7 years. And then my first year at Osawatomie, I was actually the seventh grade JV coach, and
some
the pace from even seventh grade, and then I was the head middle school coach, and then freshman coach. I mean, the pace is you get to varsity, and I mean, it definitely does seem, especially like playing Wellsville, Burlington. Those teams. It's just a race up and down the court. So
right.
definitely totally different paces from all those levels that I've coached. But yeah, it definitely seems like 5 seconds possession, it's going the other way. So
Yeah, and it is shocking to the system, and you just feel like you're mentally just trying to catch up. Now, so my greatest sporting accomplishment in my life, any team that I've ever been a part of, and I played football in high school. I was at the University of Houston as an equipment manager. Um, I was with Arena Football as an equipment manager. I've been at all sorts of different levels. My greatest accomplishment was when I was 11. We won the youth basketball league championship, and I was drafted first in the draft that year in my city's youth basketball league. There was nothing greater than winning that championship. Have you ever had another season that would compare to like your junior year in high school when you won state? That just that a sense of accomplishment, or do you find that you're still trying to chase that feeling and that taste?
Oh, I mean, that's definitely one I'll never forget. I mean, our community, our games, our home games, when I was in high school, I mean, the gym was absolutely packed. There was nowhere to sit at all. So, I mean, it was crazy to see that. I mean, we played in Hutch in the state championship, and I mean, the town Osage City travels really
Yeah.
well. We actually played them twice since I've been the head coach. So, my first year as head coach, second game of the season, we played them, and my coach is still the coach there. So that was interesting. But back in 2015, we Osawatomie, my last year as freshman coach, we made it to state. Coach Susie's son had an incredible season in 2015, and we ended up fourth in state that year. So, I mean, that wasn't winning, but I mean, that was a huge accomplishment for
Right.
what that team did. So, I mean,
That's
that kind of compares, but I mean, when you're 17 years old in high school and feeling like you're living the dream out there, it's pretty tough to beat that. So,
right. Exactly. I mean, it's like I still think about it every so often, like just winning the championship. I mean, the trophy was maybe a nickel. I mean, the trophy's worthless, but that knowing that I was on top that one time, I could only imagine as a head coach that that's got to be something that's driving you to just to get back to the top of the mountain.
oh, absolutely.
Uh, so I guess the other I watch you from my position, and I am not um a strategist. I'm not a coach in any way, shape, or form. So, can you walk me through what you're thinking whenever you first get your guys together at the first beginning of the year? Are you thinking about like developing them into a system that you've had in place for a while, or are you looking at these players and trying to mold your system around the players?
Oh, I mean, we've got a few different offenses, and I mean, sometimes I have four guards and really only one post. Sometimes we have three guards, two posts, and it really depends on the kids that I have. There's been a couple years where I've had some really solid post players, and we've really looked, hey, let's get the ball inside and score inside, score inside. My first year as head coach, I had an incredible point guard named Riley England, who graduated in, I guess it would have been 2016. He was one of the best running backs for our football team as well. But he was a great guard and could really get to the rim. And we pretty much always were in four guards attacking the rim and didn't really post. So it definitely depends on the personnel, the kids you have. But I mean, as far as coming to practice, this year has been crazy because we had 42 kids come out for basketball, which is
Yeah,
awesome. But 42 kids in one gym is also a little bit crazy.
right. I mean,
As far as
I loved it.
offenses and defenses, I mean, I have some that I like to do. I mean, I prefer 3 out, 2 in, but if I feel like our guards are better at scoring, then we'll go to 4 out guard and try to do what best fits our kids. So,
I like that. I absolutely love that. I think to show that adaptability as a coach is really important. That's I in my opinion. Again, this is just an opinion, but I think you're teaching these kids how to be adaptable through your actions and the way you lead. How important is character development to you as a coach?
oh boy, I think I might spend 75% of my time talking about character and make 25% talking about X's and O's basketball. So, I
Good.
mean, we have done a lot of talks about, being at work, being at school on time. I mean, just stuff talking about being a good teammate, body language. I mean, we really, when you have, boys that are 15 through 18 and, if you got attitudes and tempers, we talk about, body language. What's the people in the stands? What do they see?
Yeah.
I wish I could say we always do great, and I try to control my body language, but it's definitely hard. But
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I probably spend seems like more of my time talking about character than actually talking about basketball during the basketball season. So
I love that because Japin Scales as a senior last year. I had him in my Trojan time, my homeroom, and we spent, I mean, hours upon hours talking about growing emotionally, growing your
yeah,
character and evolving. Seeing and knowing that you're putting in the same work and time and effort with him, and I think it all paid off because there was a freshman last year on your team that you could tell got a little upset and was going to retaliate, and he took off running, and Japin saw it, and Japin intercepted him before he could do anything, and Japin mid game took himself out of the game to stop him in that moment
yeah,
because sportsmanship mattered more than 2 points. And I really I think back to that moment, and I always think about what kind of efforts that you had to put in with him on that, and of course afterwards, when Japin and I sat down and we we debriefed on that whole interaction. He was like, I couldn't let him do it. I knew what he was about to do, and I couldn't let him
yeah.
do it. I was like, that's the growth that we had been looking for, and I was just so excited for him to see that.
Yeah, I just saw Japin last night, and yeah, Japin and I had what probably seems like thousands of conversations about life, what life after basketball would
Yeah,
look like. So,
yeah, yeah. And what other kids, I guess, stand out to you? What is there any kid that stands out or student that stands out that you thought, man, there's no way that I'll ever be able to reach a kid like this, and then they just surprise you? Do you have any surprises?
well, I mean, one of my best stories is Robbie Yakel. I don't know if you know the Yakel
Uh,
brothers. They've had several come through. He was on my freshman team and was not even a starter on my freshman team. There was some really good kids in that class. Uh, Chasen Wiley, Trevor Blue, Justin Shad, and really good group of kids. And when he was on my freshman team, he maybe maybe was six, seven, eight guy. And then by the time he was a senior, he was a starter and a first team all league player. So it's one of those things, just don't give up on a kid. I mean, he was on my C team, barely saw the court, and by the time he was a senior, he ended up being a first team all league kid. So
yeah, yeah, that's cool. I love that. That's really
I,
cool.
I tell my current players, I talk a lot about him, and I looked in the red gym last night, and ozone basketball was going on. There must have been 30, 40 guys in there, and I looked in there and I saw tons of my old players in there, and I was like, hey, I was telling my kids, oh yeah, I remember this kid, telling them a story about that kid. So I think that's just a sign of how old I'm getting. I'm like, hey, those are all my playing what I call old man ball. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's cool because you're starting to see that like that. You're starting. I absolutely love that. So, what is it about Osawatomie? What brought you here? What's kept you here?
so I did my student teaching at a small 1A school in Williamsburg, and the principal there had taught with Jeff White,
Okay.
and when I was student teaching, I actually I did second grade. I taught elementary for 9 years before I did uh, switch to P at Trojan. But she was friends with Jeff White. She said, "Hey, what do you think about teaching at Osawatomie?" And I said, "I've never heard of Osawatomie." So at that time, I said, "But I'd love to have a job. So she made a call to Jeff White, went and interviewed, and been there ever since. So
Love it. Oh, that's fantastic. What so you told me like in one of our brief little, conversations in passing, you said that there was an opportunity to come up here to the high school and do some PE work here, and being with your wife, I think might be a pretty enticing deal. What do you remember what you told me why you wanted to stay at the elementary school?
oh, I mean, I'm not sure exactly what I told you, but for me, I love elementary kids. I've got kindergarten through fifth. They come into the gym. Majority of those kids want to be in PE, love being in there, able to move around. I like to my high school sports. I'm with my elementary kids all day, and then I can come over to the high school and have that 2 to 3 hours with them. And I kind of feel like if they were stuck with me all day, either
Yeah.
they'd be grumpy, I'd be grumpy. So I think it's a nice situation where they get a little break from me and are with me all day long, I think.
And I absolutely love that change of pace. You get to go from, the just the herding cats of second and third graders, and then it's the structure of varsity basketball, right? Like that mind switch has to be,
They're two totally different things. Sure, yeah.
I'm sure you catch yourself saying the same things at times, right? That sometimes like come on guys, pay attention.
I feel like I'm talking to my kindergartners at high school basketball practice sometimes. So
But for the most part, it has to be really nice, in your mind to be able to make that switch and to do that. Oh man. So one thing I like to do with my students in the classroom, every week we do a reflection log, and I like to ask them about their week outside of class. They fill out a little Google form, and I ask about the rose, the thorn, and the seed from the week. So rose being what's the best thing that happened this week, the thorn the worst thing, and the seed is what have you learned. I'd like you to think about that. What would be your rose, thorn, and seed as far as being the varsity coach for Osawatomie basketball? What's the best thing? What's the worst thing? And what is something that you've learned?
I mean, I'd say the best thing for me is, we've got a group of kids this year that love the game of basketball. I felt like the first week we've had some kids working really hard. We talked a lot about attitude and effort, and I felt like they've shown me some great attitude and effort. The last several years, we've had a lot of freshmen, sophomores playing varsity, which is tough on those kids. And those kids are now kind of starting to be, sophomore, junior, seniors. So just seeing that development, I think, is a rose for me. I mean, there's some kids that have really stood out to me, working really hard. I mean, Jasper is one I've noticed a big increase from freshman, sophomore year to his level. I could say good things about all the kids, but he's one that's really stood out for me.
Sure.
I mean, that's probably my rose. I mean, probably the thorn is, 42 kids and attendance. Attendance is probably my thorn. It. I try to tell the kids all the time. When you are an adult, you have to be at work on time. You have to be at work. You get days off. You could take days off when you're at work, but attendance is really important. And that's a battle with 42 kids. It always seems like, somebody can't be there for this reason. So that's probably my thorn,
Yeah.
just attendance. But as far as something I learned, I mean, gosh, I think every day seems like I learn something new as far as basketball goes. I got great assistant coaches. I think bringing Levi in, he seems like, he's a 22, 23-year-old guy. I
Yeah.
think he's some great energy with the kids, and it's fun for me to see him relating with the kids. And just after 1 week, already getting really involved. And I've tried to let him bring some inbounds plays and let him teach the kids. And it's been great for me just to see a young coach coming in and getting involved the way Levi has. So
Yeah, I like that. I absolutely like that. One thing I know, football, basketball are different sports, but coaching is coaching is coaching. And Andy Reid talks about how he is a teacher, and ultimately his big pride is teaching his assistant coaches. How do you feel about that responsibility? Have you thought about it as a responsibility to teach the assistant coaches that you have, to teach them the game and to teach them how to coach? Do you have that weight?
Absolutely. I was fortunate with Darren Susie, and then I was Coach Rod Madden's assistant track coach for 12 years. So I had some great head coaches that taught me a ton about coaching. But I mean, Coach Madden and I have had millions of talks about being a good husband, being a good father. I mean, I'm not sure there could be anybody better to learn from than Coach Madden, but
Yeah.
I feel the same responsibility. I mean, I see what they did for me, and when I have a Coach Tuttle and Coach Norris are both young teachers, young coaches, and I feel that same responsibility me to set a good example and show them just the way I was shown. So,
Yeah. No, that's amazing. I absolutely love that. I think it's wildly important. I had no idea that relationship with Madden.
I mean, Coach Madden is, I mean, when I think of Osawatomie, I mean, I think of Coach Madden. So
Right.
lots of people are that way. I mean, I was lucky enough to I was the jump coach for 12 years as he was the head coach. And we had some amazing track kids come through that set state records, school records that are still there. So, yep, I was blessed to have all the talks and time spent with Coach Madden for sure.
Two other questions that I have, and then I'll let you enjoy your Thanksgiving break. And I really appreciate you giving me time. How important is it that your players play other sports?
Oh, I think it's very important. I mean, I played every sport growing up. I played football, I played basketball, baseball, track. So absolutely, if it was up to me, I mean, every boy and girl we have would be in a sport every single season. I'm
Yeah.
definitely not. I don't ever tell my kids, "Hey, we're a basketball school only." And I've
Right.
heard that, but no, I wish every boy would be playing football or doing cross country, playing basketball, wrestling, track, baseball. I mean, all of it. I encourage everybody to do every sport. My sons, they play whatever sport it's in. They're all about it. I mean, they're gearing up for basketball right now, but they play baseball what seems like all year round. So yeah, definitely. I say play everything you can play.
Yeah. I think it's important to build your dexterity in everything that you do. So, and I appreciate that a lot because uh it's more of an encouraging attitude coming from somebody in your position instead of discouraging other sports. Don't play football, you'll get hurt and you won't be able to play for me. That's
Yeah.
I appreciate that candid nature from you.
I told I told Coach Cooper Smith the best thing for my basketball team would be for our football team to be successful. That would
Right.
be best for us. So
Yeah. I know the conditioning and all of it. It's all a little bit different. Football condition is not the same as basketball condition, which is wildly different from either soccer, track, or whatever it might be. But you find yourself, uh, in any of those sports, you're gonna doing well in one. That transition is gonna be much easier. I think, in my opinion. Um, so the last question I have for you, it stems. I've been reading a lot from other coaches and some books on coaching and there's an old a guy from the '73 football team who coaches in Texas at A&M Commerce by the name of Jack Welch. He has a weekly article that I read as well, and the common thread is setting goals and expectations. What are your goals and expectations for this season, specifically with this group of young men?
I don't usually ever try to set like a number of wins. The boys have asked me like what I think, and for this team, we've had a couple tough seasons in a row. I mean, I've had teams that have won 14 games, and we've had teams that have only won four. So with this group, I'm really just looking for our attitude and effort. Can we control those? Are we competing and playing hard every single game? I mean, we've got some tough teams in our league that will be hard to beat, but I mean, I feel like we can get better. I mean, I feel like we can win more games, but I don't ever really base it on how many games we can win, but just, improving, playing hard every game, competing every game. I mean, that's really my main goal. So,
And I really appreciate that, because if you're not putting your if you're not competing and putting your best foot forward, you're not going to get the best results. So that's absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect. Do you have any questions for me?
oh, I mean, how's Louis doing? I haven't seen him for a few days. I mean, that's one.
Yeah. Well, we've been homesick. He's not an athlete by any stretch. And the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. So there's a drawstring for the light in our living room, and he's too short to pull it. And so he stood underneath it. He was looking up, and he jumped to get it. Now his toes didn't leave the ground. He made his heels might have got about a half inch off, but his toes definitely did not leave the ground when he jumped. And he stood back, and he puts his hand on his chin, like, I've got a better idea. And so he goes off into the other room, and we lose track of him. And then he just comes running in, and then tries to jump. Again, he didn't leave the ground, but he thought this running start is what's going to hit. That's what's going to get me up there to pull the light string down.
Problem solving right there.
Exactly right.
I love Louis, so
Hey,
got him 25 minutes every day, and he gives me some good entertainment. So,
yeah. Now, your wife told me a little story about you know, a squishy day that you had.
oh yes,
What happened
I know
there?
that story
Yeah,
well.
what happened there, Coach?
Oh, I had a group of kids lining up, and we were walking, and we'd line up on our baseline, and I'm kind of walking backwards, talking to the kids, and feel myself step on something, and look down, and it was exactly what I thought it was, and had to had to make sure I didn't say any words out loud, and because I had 20 kids staring at me. So yeah, that's all part of being a elementary teacher. You get those different bodily functions that people
Right.
like to so, but yeah, my two sons
How
got a kick out of when I told them that story. They laughed and laughed and laughed. So
how does it how does a kid sneak a turn on the free throw line?
uh, I've asked myself that question a few different times, unfortunately. Yep.
That's something that you wouldn't have to deal with at the high school, but honestly, I think the trade-off is worth it, because the laughs that you get, the stories
But
that you get down there.
every day in elementary P is an adventure. So,
Yeah, I could only imagine. I could only imagine. Well, thanks for being there for my kid. I appreciate it. Yeah, he absolutely loves you. He thinks you're a celebrity every time he sees you.
oh man, he's Louis singing and dancing and having a good time in PE. So,
Yeah, well, good, good, good. All right, Coach. Thanks so much. Good luck this season, and I really appreciate you joining me. This has been a lot of fun, man.
all right, thanks for having me. Have a good Thanksgiving.
Hey, you do the same. Same to you and your family.